Now you're welcome along, Football Show. Kenny Cunningham is in the house. Kenny, let's talk some football.
Let's park it now.
You've talked enough.
Let's park it. I'm just happy to your glow, Joe. Your glow.
Yeah.
Just wanted to come in this evening and experience it.
Well, it's a great time.
Feed off it.
I tell you what, this time next week, we'll be getting ready for kick-off against France. Aviva Stadium will be hopping.
Oh, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Coincidentally, yeah. What a double that'd be.
What a double that would be. Are you doing
I'm hopeful.
RTE commentary?
No.
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 I often see you there.
See me where? At the
Aviva.
No, if you keep your head down and
You don't even say hi to
I was going to say jump over the turnstiles there.
That's the worst part when you do commentary for that other crowd, is that we're in the row right behind you. And at some stage you'll turn around and go, oh, all right. And that will be the end of the conversation. Nothing. It's like you don't know us.
It's like the enemy, isn't it? It's like the enemy. Just for one night only. One night only.
It's unbelievable.
Usually a bit of radio do down there.
That's what I'm talking about.
The night of the games.
Are you not doing radio?
I haven't even looked that far ahead. I'm not.
Oh, that means
Wouldn't be that organised, Joe.
That means you are.
Wouldn't be that organised. If I'm there, I'm there. You'll see the back of my head. You look there, you'll see the back of my head.
Well, we always say we're better off without you on those nights.
Don't be trying to nick any of me. We get a little food hamper there, don't we? Down the front. You don't, do you lot?
I get the dinner downstairs.
You and Stewie Bourne.
So, let's talk Premier League weekend that was, an FA Cup weekend indeed, and then we'll talk next week.
So confusing that I'm not a fan of it at all. The FA Cup / Premier League weekend. Not for me. Doesn't work.
Well, you'll have to cope. Antonio Conte, he's grabbed the headlines. So Southampton 3, Spurs 3, from 3-1 up.
Oh my God, that
to
game.
3-3. So, and we'll hear from him in a few moments' time. But he's using words like selfish and excuses. From what you saw, what is it about his players that you think is irritating him so much?
Well, you can't just look at it off the back of the performance at the weekend. This has been a reoccurring theme for Tottenham all season. This type of performance, Joe, from Tottenham. And I've spoken to a couple of Tottenham supporters about it. And I mean, they're literally being tortured, Tottenham supporters this season. It's literally mental cruelty in terms of what they're having to see. And I'm not sure if we spoke about it before. I have spoken to somebody about it, and I've never seen it, to be honest with you. I'm talking any team. I wouldn't even say like an elite team competing at the top end of the Premiership. Even the teams at the bottom this season, teams in the bottom 4 or 5, teams are really struggling, Joe, and have done for the majority of the season. We know who they are. I can't say I've looked at kind of Bournemouth this season, even kind of Southampton, West Ham, Everton, those type of teams, and regularly looked at them and thought, oh, they're not trying. You know, there's a real lack of application amongst even the teams down there who are really struggling for most of the season. Lack of quality from them, lack of confidence to a certain extent. But in terms of application and kind of attitude, generally speaking, it's there. You can argue now they're not good enough, they'll go down because of it, fair enough. But I don't see that real kind of lack of like mental resolve, application, determination. You know, going out and doing the fundamentals. You know, going out running, tackling, tracking back, running ahead of the ball. You know, being vocal, encouraging people. All the kind of bases are given that you take with any professional player or group of players. And Tottenham's the only example. I just don't see it. The only team that kind of stands alone. I've looked at them so much this season, and I'm thinking, what's going on? What's going on with this lot? They're just like going through the motions. Haven't got out second gear. It looks like a funny old group to me, the dressing room, and it shouldn't be that because they tick a lot of boxes in terms of like senior players in there. You'd look at them from the outside and you think, well, they're spawning the team strong. Kane, Son, experienced players, good age. Højbjerg to an extent, Dyer, Lloris, Ben Davies, these type of players, solid backbone to the team, experienced players who you could trust and would drive that dressing room, wouldn't allow standards to drop. You know, would be kind of quite demanding and vocal, and you know, younger players would take their lead from that. You know, that type of thing, which is kind of rolled out. You see in different dress. We've all experienced it. I'm not too sure it's in that Spurs dress. I look at Kane. I look at players being interviewed. Kane being interviewed, Dyer being interviewed. quite sullen characters.
Do you think Kane's trying?
No, I'm not sure it's as simplistic as that. He's trying, he isn't trying. But certainly in terms of like just mentally, that kind of real kind of focus when you go on the pitch. You know, when you leave the dressing room most weeks, you know, everybody's saying the same things, every dressing room up and down the country. Yeah. Right, let's start well. You know, high intensity, win your first tackle. You know, that's, you know, let's start well. Let's put them on the back foot. You know, and again, like I said, all the basic, all the kind of fundamentals, but it's just not there. The amount of time Spurs have started slowly, first half, just can't get going. Suddenly it needs a trigger second half for them to find something, and then they come on strong, and then you think, well, now they look a good side, but it doesn't happen often enough. So for me, it's like, so ultimately the manager's going to, he's going to pay the ultimate price, isn't he? The manager's responsibility ultimately, and he's going to go. We understand that. You can argue about he's calling out Levy and he wants to go. I understand that there's an extent, yeah, there might be some truth in that. But fundamentally, what he's saying, what he had to say in that interview, I know a little bit's lost in translation, but yeah, I'm all over that. Because I've been saying that all season with this Spurs team. I really have, Joe. But what's the explanation?
I don't know, because
when a team regularly goes on the pitch.
It's interesting when you talk about a culture in a dressing room. The reason I ask about Kane is he strikes me as ultimate diligent professional. And you would look at a dressing room and you would say, well, if the senior pros are a good batch, that will filter down. Kane looks like a decent leader. Yeah,
but it depends what you mean by good pros. For me, aren't just worried about themselves. Now, good pros like being prepared well and all that type of thing. Make sure your game to an extent extends up to a certain level. It's a bit of a selfish thing. We all have that a little bit. But a good pro for me, it's bigger than that, isn't it? It's about the team, the collective, the dressing room. It's about dragging more out of other people around you. It's a team game there. So that's
on that point, I'm not so sure Kane is that personality.
I'm not sure they have too many of them. I look at Dyer, looks a very quiet, introspective type of fella. Is he the one in the kind of dressing room the younger players look at and really gravitate to, even in terms of personality?
Lloris doesn't strike me as inspirational, no-nonsense captain. Son looks self-contained as well.
So this is what I'm talking about. I think that dressing room is pretty unique. So the normal rules don't apply with those senior, but that's what I'm saying. It looks like a sullen, a little bit of a. No, I don't think it's because I'm not interested in anything. We know Kane is driven by those individual accolades, Spurs top scorer, chasing Shearer's Premiership record, England, the whole shebang, and that's all well and good to a point. But it can't be at the expense of the group. And whether he's looking a little bit down the line in terms of the summer and the next move, you're going to talk about Kane in particular. I don't think it's all about Harry Kane. Don't get me wrong, but he is a factor in it. So that's what I'm scratching my head. It's hard to put your finger on it, Joe, but their performances this season it's been a consistent theme all season, and I haven't seen it in any other team.
Wow.
Where they almost literally, it's through the motion, kind of down tools, lethargy, can't be bothered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Frankenstein, they're only like a Frankenstein team, you know, just stumbling, too often.
And for you, that explains why so many bad first halves and then a degree of, we better come back here, the trigger. That suggests a team that aren't in the right mindset.
I think so. Yeah, it's a mental collective in there.
Because Kane scored 25 goals. Like, he's taking care of his own business. We're talking about the culture of the whole dressing room.
That's another argument in terms of whether he is I think the goals thing's an interesting one with Kane. I think it's too easy now to look at Kane 2025. He's doing his stuff. Well, he's doing his stuff when he gets in positions in around the penalty box and he's in a position to score. We know how good he is. But as he's doing his stuff out of possession when Spurs haven't got the ball, I'd argue he's not, and it hasn't been for quite some time.
In terms of closing down and work rate.
And I'm not sure physically he can do it. So this for me lends itself into the really interesting argument about Kane in the summer. For me, there's only one club he can go to, and that's Manchester United, because he's going to stay in the Premiership for the reasons that we said.
Yeah.
Individual accolades, chasing those records. So he's going to stay. So the only club he's got for me is Manchester United, and it seems to be a given. Manchester United desperate to get him up there because they need goals, as if that's it. So for me, I think Ten Hag's looking at this a little bit different. I think he's looking at Kane thinking, absolutely, I want those goals. But the drop off. I've just got a number 9 out of the football club.
You're this is Ronaldo part 2.
Yeah, I've just got a number 9 out of the football club. It was exactly that. We've got to carry out possession of the football in terms of the press, etc., etc. And now I'm going to go and get another one. in a similar vein.
So with Ronaldo, he didn't have the legs to press. Do you think Kane, the issue was legs or application?
I think it's both. I don't think from as an athletic point of view he can do it. You look at Weghorst at the moment. People say, "Well, he's starting the game." Now Weghorst isn't starting the game because his individual quality, how good he is when United are in possession. You know what I mean? He's a clinical goal scorer. For me, he almost plays because how good he is out of possession.
Did you see more from Kane off the ball in recent years?
No, I'd say maybe 5 years when Pochettino was there, 4-3-3, and he had that little, played with more intensity, kind of pressing. Yeah, there was more there. But I think he's different. Was he 30-31? So I see a drop off now, just in terms of how physically he can get. Physically he can get it. It comes to us all. He comes to us all at different points. But I look at him Saturday. Oh, Joe, he's literally walking. And do you know someone trying to kid you on, trying to close down the centre half, but he's not. He's not closing. He's getting to 10 yards of him, centre half steps forward. He walks into another. He walks into traffic. He walks into people to get away from. You can see it. I'm seeing it there in front. It wasn't just Saturday. Seen it all season, probably last year as well. So that's going to be an issue for me. I'll be absolutely fascinated because, like I said, people think it's a given. Kane 1 year to go, 60 million, job done, easy decision. Got to get him up there. Goals. I understand the goals, but it's the flip side as well. In the modern game now, Joe, that argument like 15 years ago or whatever, when I played, we'll carry him. He's that good, and we'll carry him, no problem. I don't think there's too many managers now that'll suck that up. So I'm fascinated to see what'll happen with him. But I have a lot of sympathy for Conte in terms of what he had to say. And I think it's just people will say, you're digging out the players. And I'd be the same. It's a last resort. You go public and dig out your play. It's literally... you're trying to grenade in there, but he's obviously, he's tried to protect them. He's tried to circumnavigate it, but obviously he's at the point now where that's it. There's nothing else. This is it. I've got to throw a grenade into the dressing room because there's nothing else left.
I'm conscious people maybe have better things to do with their weekend than watch Antonio Conte's press conference. So to give you a sense of what he was talking about, Arthur, do we have the audio? So we'll play the audio, and I'll read out some choice quotes in a moment. But the audio gives a real sense of his emotion and his sense of irritation, to be frank. So here's a little taster of Conte post-match after 3-1 down to 3-3 against Southampton.
You are finding an alibi, another alibi. You try to find alibi, an excuse for the players. Okay, continue to do this, to find excuse for the players. You do only this. Excuse for the players, but the players maybe my future, and then they lost confidence, they lost spirit, they lost to be a team. Excuse. Try to protect every time, and this situation. Come on. We are professional. We paid. The club paid us a lot of money. The players receive money. Me receive money. You understand? Not to find excuse and don't have spirit or don't show the sense of belongings or don't show sense of responsibility, because we are showing this, and for me this is unacceptable for me, because this is the first time in my career to see a situation like this. And until now, I wasn't able to change. Not to change, but compare last season, the situation went to become worst.
Why, Antonio? Why do you think it is like this?
Why? I don't know, because they are used here. They're used here. Don't play for something important. Yeah, and they don't play. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. It's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this: 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why?
Yeah, like it's a devastating diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it's from the manager, and people have said, well, is this self-serving, go public? Maybe there's a bit of that, but I think I would tend to agree with you. He sounds like a man there who's gone nuclear, because last season I seemed to get through to them. It's worse this season. And he said later on in the press conference, until now I tried to hide the situation, but there are 10 games to go and some people think we can fight. Fight for what? With this spirit, this attitude, this commitment, what? 7th, 8th, 10th? And as he mentioned in the clip we played, he later said, I'm not used to being in this position. I'm really upset. Everyone has to take their responsibility. I want to see fire. I haven't seen it. I said I want to see fire in their eyes and their hearts. I want to see the right spirit. Training sessions, on the pitch. I mean, it's funny. There have been times over the last couple of years when Roy Keane might be in punditry and they'll come to him and ask him about Spurs and he'll sort of say, it's Spurs, isn't it? Like, it's Spurs. And I would think, well, come on, it's a bit simplistic, or that, different teams to the one you played against, different culture. But even Conte is saying there, same owner, not used to doing it the right way. Meh.
No, no, I think that's fair. It's there, that kind of soft underbelly. It's there. We've seen it all. We've seen it all season.
What about the self-serving argument?
Now, the alter argument would be maybe the Spurs players mentally are in a bad place because of the dynamic between them and the manager over a period of time since he's been there. How he interacts with the players in terms of what he demands of the players, maybe on the training pitch, maybe over a period of time that maybe the players are maybe stop listening. Maybe because of him, his kind of personality, his man management style, which I think that might be the opposite argument. So I take that maybe to a point, but even as I'm saying that, I'm cringing a little bit. It's weak. It feels a bit weak even to make. That doesn't help. Don't get me wrong. We've all had managers, not a massive fan of him, I'm not sure, but ultimately you're right. It's your responsibility. You come together in the dressing room when you're walking onto the pitch. Right, lads, about us now. Forget about what the managers had to say, or you're not happy with this, that, and the other. Let's get on the pitch and let's just do the fundamentals. Get out there and do the fundamentals. He's talking about kind of spirit forward in their eyes. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? That real kind of intensity to go out and to impose yourself, to dominate your man, to demand of others around you. That type of thing. I think he's right. Now you could argue, is he culpable in that? Yeah, possibly so. I mean, I'm a big fan of Conte personally. Always have been. But I imagine he can be difficult at times, you know what I mean? And maybe to deal with on a one-to-one, maybe a little bit cold, distant. He's got that Italian mentality, speaks about Italian football, professional. You're getting paid, you got to turn up and, put a performance in. You're getting paid, this is it. We're professionals. That type of real Italian kind of mindset. Maybe he's got you could argue, maybe slightly different approach with a different type of dressing. You've got to be more of a chameleon as a manager. This is a funny old dressing room. This few strange personalities, and you've got to be careful how you speak to them. So he's got to tiptoe his way around that a little bit if you wanted to flip it the opposite way. But we are where we are with Spurs. But he's right. Spurs are sitting fourth place, or fifth, is it now? Fourth,
but games
just
in hand.
Just 4 games in hand. Exactly. And people would say, wow, the great position Spurs they can still go. But he's looking at thinking, no, we've no chance. Well, from what I've seen all season, how are things going to change between now and the end of the season?
Well, that's the next question. His contract's up at the end of the season anyway. The report in a piece I read in the Daily Mail is Daniel Levy is considering options, and he has spoken to Conte because Conte did reference same owner and same old situation. So I think he's given assurances. I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't saying, oh, you're the problem. You're the same owner.
Yeah, I didn't take
same
that,
result.
Yeah.
It's very much about the players, and Levy is taking advice. Whether he reaches out to senior players and inquires as to whether this is repairable or where they are, I don't know. Is that manager-player relationship now completely severed, in your opinion, based on Conte going public? I suspect he said a lot of this to the players already privately, but the going public, is that like... Is it,
yeah, generally speaking, yeah, the players, I think, would wash their hands of you in those situations. So, yeah, so that's tough. It's going to be really... You'd like to think the players can rise above that and put the team, the club kind of first, because what's at stake, still a huge amount to kind of play for.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, their perception of the manager and what he's done, the perception will be he's trying to shove us under a bus here. He's trying to protect himself. No, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think he speaks from the heart there, Conte. He's at his wit's end almost with the players, but I think the players' perception will be a little bit different. It'll be a case of he's looking after himself. He wants to get sacked. It's all about him.
And I think people will say you're being a touch naive. That of course this is self-serving on Conte's part. He's no fool. He knows what he's done here. He's taken advantage of the Spurs' reputation and saving himself because he knows it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it's only like a couple of. He's out of contract in the end of the.
Yeah, but he's saving himself.
End of the season.
He's blowing the whole thing up. He's like, this is how terrible they are.
Yeah,
and Kenny Cunningham swallowed it.
Yeah,
up
I understand. But I think he's right at the end of the day. I think he's telling hard truths.
That's the redeeming point.
And I think you might say he's finished there. I think with this group of players, he's kind of finished. But the argument is, do you build a team around that spine of players that we're talking about going forward, even a new manager coming in? Or does Levy look at Conte and say, I'm still having this fella, so I've got to back him? And in the summer, not only has Kane got to go, that core group of senior players that I'm talking about, who aren't providing that kind of leadership in there, they've got to go as well. Dora's got to go. Loris has got to go.
Daniel Levy is not a let's have a big summer of spending kind of a chairman.
Well, no, that's fair enough. Then Conte's got to go. That rub is always going to be there. So that's the likelihood.
His contract is up. Well, I think he's done. It's just a case of whether it's now or summer.
But my argument would be if for some time now Levy's been thinking, right, he's off.
Yeah.
He's off, it's done. Has come out public and said it, which he wouldn't do because he's still in a decent position. Doesn't want to rock the boat. And if he's making a couple of phone calls in the background, or intermediaries have been talking to, let's say it's Pochettino, saying, look, this job's here in the summer. Do you want it? Yeah, I'll have it. Right, let's put it on the back burner for the summer. So if that's a given, this is a big jump from my point of view. Pochettino's assured him that he will take the job in the summer. For me now, off the back of what we saw at the weekend, you get him in now.
Okay.
I think that of everything that we've said, that makes the most sense now, because that change room isn't going to change between now and the end of the season. That dynamic isn't going to change between the players and the manager. So what can you do? Can't change the players. Get the manager out. Pochettino's got a good relationship with the senior players in that dressing room. See, can he spark something?
Yeah.
Can he get a reaction? Get those players on side
Scramble
and get a bit of forward momentum? Yeah, between now and the end of the season.
Oof, very interesting. And even the timing, international break. You know, this wasn't like a let's repair this the next morning. Everyone, look, I got a bit carried away. Let's all be friends. This is like 10 days of stewing on this thing. Imagine the players. Oh my goodness. We've got to take a short break. Our football show coverage brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport, Premier Sports. Back with Kenny in just 1 sec.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
Hey, welcome back. Kenny Cunningham with us on the football show, which is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Because of your stunningly good take there on Spurs, I'm not going to get to everything I want to get to. That was bloody interesting.
You got to get to the title race. The sprint.
Okay. Let's do that then. Arsenal 4, Crystal Palace 1. Bukayo Saka scoring 2 goals. Martinelli 13 Premier League goals as well. Xhaka scoring. Xhaka, he's going nowhere. So they're in a great place.
Oh.
Even their reaction to conceding at 3-0, banging of fists, and a team not happy to concede spoke volumes. I was watching Match of the Day 2, and Bukayo Saka, a lot to like there in terms of his attitude. So Jason Mohammed was presenting and Martin Keown was on the panel, and he was just saying to Saka about the fixtures ahead. He was like, Martin was just saying, be cautious some of these games at Anfield and the Etihad. You need to, you got a bit of fear about them. And Saka interrupted Jason.
Right, didn't say that.
Yeah,
right.
He interrupted Jason's question, turned to Keown and said, were you? And Martin was like, well, and Saka said, no, I want to hear what you think. And Keown had to say, I just think, Etihad, Anfield, you've got to be careful. These are big games. Saka, no.
Great.
And it was good.
Right.
Keown had an air of fear. Saka had an air of youth and adventure and just loving life.
That's how they've played, isn't it? All season, Joe. They've played.
Crossed my mind.
Played with that freedom. I just probably referenced a couple of weeks ago. There was back-to-back games. Aston Villa, wasn't it? And Leicester. 2 games. Partey was out for both. Jorginho came in. There was a bit of a drop off, but they got it done. They got it 4-2 late goals at Aston Villa. 1-0 weren't at their best against Leicester. Got it done, and then seemed to have found their mojo again. The last couple of games, it's back. You could even sense it. Covered the game at the weekend. Oh, atmosphere! It's absolutely raucous in there. Speaking to a couple of lads who were at the game saying, "Oh, it's unbelievable." And you can sense it. It comes through the screen even when you're watching the game.
Yes.
And they're back. The mojo's back. That game against Palace, the intensity. I was talking about Spurs, lack of intensity from the first whistle, bang at it, at teams, grabbing the ball off them. Sustain pressure.
Spurs like.
Oh, Jesus, I couldn't get any more unspurs like. And when they lose it, Joe, hunt you down.
Yeah.
Hunt you down, desperate to get the ball back off you as quickly as possible. It's so impressive, that performance again at the weekend. Type of performance we saw earlier in the season.
Kenny, you're speaking like a man who believes.
Oh yeah, I think they'll do it. I probably have done for some time, to be honest with you. Obviously when City won that game a couple of weeks ago and got back to within touch and distance, it was 50-50 again, but like I said, they've come through, and for me they're back. And I think that result the other night, I think we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, about Europa League and the league. Arsenal both, does one marry up with the other? Can one complement? Will they feed off? Does he want to win both? And I think he does. I think he's hungry to win both, and I think he was. But going into extra time in that Sporting Lisbon game last week, Arsenal, I was looking at it. They'd lost the two defenders. Saliba had gone off and Tomiyasu had gone off the pitch. And I looked at it then, I thought, you know what? The best thing, in terms of their title challenge, I think the best thing is they go out tonight.
We never had that conversation.
Did we not? Had it with somebody else.
It's good to see that presenters are that interchangeable in your mind.
But this was it, because there's no right or wrong. Sometimes staying in both competitions feed off each other.
Momentum,
and
energy.
Momentum,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Games come thick and fast. You're winning all the games. Everybody's playing a part of his buzz. That forward momentum you can. Sometimes you think, it doesn't matter the European. You drop out there, the disappointment of coming out. You know what I mean? You can disrupt that.
Yeah.
But in this instance, I think it's going to help them. I think being able to play now predominantly week to week and preparation, he's good on the detail. Arteta, just in terms of the recovery as well. The players, a couple of key players coming back, less games in comparison to Manchester City, less chance players becoming injured, particularly those key players that we spoke about. Saliba be one of them, Partey to a certain extent, even kind of maybe Saka thrown into that category as well. So for me, it's actually a good thing. Only time will tell, don't get me wrong. But if they can keep rolling out these type of performances that we saw, I know it's Crystal Palace struggling to an extent, although I thought Palace done reasonably well, to be honest with you, in terms of how they set up. Paddy McCarthy was in charge. I didn't think he could have done any more.
Oh, Martin Keown. Heard him on TalkSport today. He said the way Paddy McCarthy set that side up proved to him that he's not up to this level tactically.
He's not?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what Martin Keown said.
He said just what I told you. It proves to me, because I thought it was a very harsh comment, and he's Patrick Vieira, former teammate, and I thought, wow, he's really knifed him there on radio.
Yeah,
he said that proves to me, the way he set Palace up proves he's not tactically at the level required.
No, it doesn't make any sense. He brought Milivojevic in and paired him up at the core. They give it a good defensive screen. He pushed Schlupp in almost a number 10 position, getting contact. With Partey, front three took care of themselves. Zaha was a bit loose out of possessions, defensive discipline. That was the only thing. That's an individual thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But the rest of it I thought was fine. I thought the defensive structure was good. Opening 25 minutes, they carried a good attacking threat, hit the post early on. Zaha could have gone ahead. 3-1 down, it should have been 3-2. I thought, again, Zaha could have scored. Then it's game on, then at 3-2. So, no, I wouldn't agree with that at all. That's a bit of a sidebar now. But but I just think Arsenal just on it. They're absolutely at it. And you look at even the fixtures now. I'm talking about games week to week. The next 4 fixtures, they play Liverpool away. You've referenced that. It's Southampton. It's West Ham. And another team, one more team towards the bottom. The next 4 games. And Leeds. So that's the next four games. Plenty of points there. Even the Liverpool game. Liverpool away. The way this Arsenal team's playing. Going up to Anfield, that absolutely. Can you see the amount of problems they're going to cause?
Yeah.
Liverpool, they're kind of front 4, Odegaard in there, and everybody joining in. I mean, you could easily see them going down to Anfield and winning. That could be 4 wins on the spin. Then they got one small period. They got the City game. They bounce from that. They play Chelsea and Newcastle at the end of April. So that's it for me. Those 3, they come out those 3 games ahead of City. I think they'll win it because they got Wolves, Notts Forest. Last 3 games, and Brighton. 2 of them are at home. So going into those last 3 games, they're a point ahead of Manchester City. They win it.
Well, you're forgetting one thing, and it's our next port of call, Evan Ferguson. We're going to have to park Manchester United and Mitrovic and all that business for another time, because I do want to talk to you about this night next week, where right about this time next week the atmosphere will be cooking. France in town. Evan Ferguson's 2 goals, first of all, against Grimsby in the FA Cup.
Haven't seen them. I don't need to be honest with you.
Have you not seen them?
No.
Genuinely?
No, this is what I'm telling you about. FA Cup weekend and
Kenny.
disaster. Like,
these are quality goals.
yeah, I don't need to, Joe, to be honest with you. I've seen enough.
Well,
From
what you love about the first goal, ball comes at him shoulder height, takes it down. I don't want to say Zidane-esque, but I feel I may have just there. That's what it made me think of. Ball comes at him shoulder height, takes it down, first touch. Second touch is very, very quick to set himself. And then the finish in the box, he rolled it in.
Yeah.
It's Berbatov-esque. Let's not kick the ball harder than I have to. And then second goal, nice bit of movement. Again, it was 3 touches and he was totally in control of the situation. Was going across goal diagonally and he just saw, well, keeper here, I can go either side. The corner I'm going towards is wide open. I'm just going to pass it in there and trot it away. I mean, there are really good goals. The question for you is, does Stephen Kenny know his first 11, do you think, assuming nobody's injured and training goes as is, do you think Stephen Kenny today knows his first 11 and what do you think that will be?
Yeah, I think he's almost there. I'd say maybe one position.
Which is?
I think maybe left wing back, maybe 2 left wing back, and maybe one of the forward positions, which would be interesting. The Latvia game. I mean, initially I was looking at that Latvia game thinking, could have done without that hole in the head, really. But it will give an opportunity potentially to put a few pairings out if he's thinking because Evan Ferguson, we know that conversation ended some time ago. He starts. Who plays up there alongside him? Presume we're going to play with a front 2 and a narrow midfield 3. Who plays up alongside Evan Ferguson? If he's still wrestling with that a little bit, maybe puts that pairing on the pitch against Latvia for the first half. Evan Ferguson, Obafemi, maybe has a look at that. Adamida hasn't been in the squad for a while. Maybe has a look at him alongside Ferguson. So that I suppose that's one area in terms of the front striking pairing. And for me, it's kind of, I think it's wing back. The wing back's an interesting one. I think Seamus has really come into the equation over the last couple of months. And I'm not talking actually in the back 3. I think ask Seamus now, where do you want to play in this Ireland team? You say, right, the back 3.
Can I jog people's memory and then you pick up the point? In September, and it feels like years ago now, let's just count the friendlies when Ireland were playing and the World Cup first game was starting. In September, they had that game against Armenia where they're 2-0 up, and then there was, quote, Stephen Kenny, 5 minutes of madness, 2-2, Robbie Brady penalty in the last minute, and there was the 2-1 Scotland game at Hampden. So those nights, Bazunu was in both nights. The back 3, the same as what it'll probably be, which is Collins, Egan and O'Shea. It was Doherty both nights, and you remember against Scotland he defended badly. He just didn't look himself. It looked a bit, the word lazy was used, or cumbersome. Doherty was in. Left wing back, McLean against Scotland, and it was Brady against Armenia. The midfield, Malumbi, Cullen, Knight. Hendrick went in when Cullen was suspended. Cullen will come back in. So that's Malumbi, Cullen, Knight. And you've talked about the front 2 positions. So it was McLean, left wing back. It was Brady the other night, Doherty on the right. Yeah. Asked Dan McDonald what he reckoned. Dan will be in later in the week. He reckoned it'll be Doherty right wing back and O'Dowda, he thinks, left wing back. So sorry, pick up the point you were saying, the wing backs, and Seamus you think is looking at Doherty's position.
Yeah, so right of a back 3 I think would suit Seamus at the moment, but I just feel as if this standalone game, because of the qualities that they have and the likelihood, the possibility that Mbappe is going to be occupying that early the pitch, that inside left wing position, you want your top defenders over that side of the pitch. Nathan Collins will play right side of it 3. That's pretty much a given. Yeah. So who's going to be the closest to him in that kind of right back position? I'm a big fan of Matt Doherty. Don't get me wrong, but I think this standalone game, I think you need somebody who's smart, a really sharp, smart, experienced, your most experienced defender, to do a job, which is not what you want ideally in a right wing back.
No, not right wing back. Can I ask the obvious question? Mbappe is faster than both of them. He's definitely faster than Seamus Coleman.
Yeah, but it's not all about who's the fastest. It's about who's the smartest. So yeah, he's the fastest. So who can recognise that? So you got to adjust your position. You got to show good anticipation. You got to be smart. So these are the things that you use to counteract that. Nobody can live with Mbappe. Sure. So you need to find a solution. So the solution comes from having players there with good understanding of the game, experience, been in this situation before, and can find a solution between it, because it's a collective thing, isn't it? It's not like one.
No.
I'm not saying Seamus Combs going to do a job at Mbappe
1v1. It doesn't matter who it is. 1v1's true.
Yeah, exactly. But Seamus is smart, and we've seen that. Certainly the second half of his career, the defensive side of his game has really improved. So I think for me, Seamus, almost you're putting your right wing back in this game and saying to him, don't worry about the attacking side tonight. Just get in there, stay behind the ball, stay in contact with Nathan Collins. Get your start. Don't get caught ahead of the ball. Don't let him in behind you. Just do a job. And if we're going to get any penetration, any natural width, we'll get it down the other side of the pitch. So that's why I think Callum O'Dowda comes into the equation. So if you're almost going to sacrifice that area of the pitch down the right hand side, say to James, just sit in there,
it's a containment
do a job for us. Then you're almost like, where's that width? Where's that penetration going to come? And maybe Callum O'Dowda, with his, the speed that he has, might come into the equation. I think Robbie Brady's one, though, again, that left wing back position for different reasons. Robbie's set piece delivery, it's the best that we have in the squad. You can't underestimate that in terms of if we're able to force 3 or 4 or 5 corners during the game, some free kicks in the last third, half a dozen of them, his delivery could be absolutely key on the night as well. So I'd be leaning towards O'Dowda or even Robbie Brady in that left wing back position. Now, that's harsh on Matt Dockery, don't get me wrong, because as a standalone, who's best suited to playing that right wing back role for me, it's Matt Doherty. But this particular game against France, I just see it slightly different.
No, it's interesting.
In those kind of win back areas.
You explained it very well. Are we fairly comfortable on Malumbi Cullen night?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. I like Alan Brown when he's in there, to be honest with you, because of the goal threat that he gives you. I think he's our best goal scoring kind of midfielder. Jason Knight's great legs. Jason Malumbi, they can get box to box, tenacity, the whole thing. But Alan Brown, when he arrives in the box, I always think the ball's going to find him. You know what I mean? Just senses where the ball's going to arrive. So this game, you know what I'm like in terms of the right defensive mindset, like full on. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you got to find a way. How are we going to get up the pitch? How we on transitions? We need to spend some time at the game in their half of the pitch, and when we do, who's likely to get us a goal? Apart from your front two, obviously, who's going to be arriving from deep? Who do you trust to arrive and be clinical and keep calm when those opportunities present themselves? And during his Irish career, Brownie's kind of shown himself to be that type of player from those. So I think that's another option there. Maybe just a sacrifice to be Jason Knight or Jason Malumbi who'd be sacrificed, and that's not an easy decision because we know what they give us from the defensive side of the game. Their kind of tenacity, defensive discipline. Obviously, Jason Malumbi's got to be careful in terms of keeping himself calm and all those type of things. Can't be going to ground too often and expose himself in that respect. But so that's interesting for me. But I like the look of it. That team that we're talking about there, I like what I'm seeing there in terms of that real solid defensive structure, absorbing pressure, being comfortable in our defensive shape, but also offering a little bit the other side, counter-attacking, quick transitions. Evan up front, Obafemi, his lightning pace in behind. O'Dowda maybe giving us that from the left wing back position, and Jason Knight and Jason Malumbi pick and choosing their times to go and join in with that as well. So that's like a real bit of counter thrust there for me in that team, and I think that's where we have to play against this French team. I don't think we'll get an option. That's the way we'll be forced to play because of the quality which they have, their ball playing ability. But I'd be comfortable playing that type of game because with those players on the pitch. So I'm looking forward. So I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah. I'm super excited for the occasion. It's going to be incredible. My sense last September with the 3-2 against Armenia and the 2-1 against Scotland, with a lot of the same personnel playing who will play next Monday, was a touch dejection that we're still giving away stupid goals. Stupid's the wrong word, but you take the point. Frustrating goals, poor goals. We're still giving away poor goals X number of years into the Kenny era. Beaten away by Scotland, even though there was a lot to like about that game. It was a great game and a good performance. And then the quote 5 minutes of madness against Armenia. Again, it's frustrating and worrying that they're still lurking in there.
Oh yeah, that's a given, Joe, isn't it? I mean, individual errors.
And so
that's a given. That can't happen. We know that.
It's a slight worry. It's still happening, I suppose. You'd like us to have come out of that September feeling a bit more battle hardened because you just wonder.
Yeah, but I think we found something, Joe, in the last with this kind of system when Stephen the manager went to this system back for that narrow midfield three, front two. I just thought it suited us. It kind of clicked. You know what I mean? I was a little bit more confident. Probably thought we needed it, to be honest with you, but when he did make that slight little tactical change and got the extra midfielder in there, for me, I just thought, That's far better. We fancy more secure.
Do you know what?
I know we're not keeping clean sheet.
We were quite a while waiting for that switch. That switch was crying out to be made for a while, I felt, to be honest.
Yeah, well, we got there. That's what I'm saying. We've got there. And like I said, I like the kind of balance. Balance is so important in terms against this French team. I'm talking about us maybe having to hurt them in the counter-attack. We got to be so careful when we're in possession and we start committing players in the forward areas at a pitch. I mean, this French, talk about quick counter-attack, this kind of French team. So we've got to be careful with that. I think that's cost us at times as well, in possession, looking to open the pitch up and work the ball and commit players into forward areas. Suddenly quick transition, and Josh Cullen's the only one in centre midfield giving protection to that back three unit who are stretched across the pitch. You know, he's got kind of 25 yards of open space either side of him. That can't happen either, you know. So we've really got to be smart in terms of how we approach the game. Those individual errors and stuff, that's given, Joe. That just can't happen. You know, we've got to be smart.
But sorry, individual errors, sure. But you think the Armenia breakaway goals were wide open. And I take the point. 2-0 up against Armenia is very different to 0-0 first 10 minutes against France. But
so that's what I'm saying. I'm sure the manager and the coaching staff will be talking about that in the week, and this is what it's about: getting on the training pitch and working things out. Video analysis, got to be careful of this. You know, that midfield three I'm talking about, Jason Knight and Jason will be getting themselves forward in ideal situation, joining in with the front two. But they might have to dovetail a little bit. You know, when Jason Malumbi goes on, Jason Knight might have to recognise that and just slide in with Josh Cullen in centre midfield. You know, you keep those two, you know, right side, because we always have a defensive five, back three, and two centre midfielders at all times.
And again, that's not a complicated concept for these guys.
No, it's not complicated. It's not complicated, but it's just, you know, we need to do it. You know, we need to see those clear pictures. We need to have clear understanding, not get caught up in the game. You know, and lose our discipline a little bit.
We got to go very soon. Are you confident? Feels like a churlish question against France. What's your sense?
I'm feeling it. I've got to be honest. I'm not going into this game with any type of dread. I think that team that we're talking about, if Stephen gets that team more or less onto the pitch, I think we've got a fighting chance. And you factor in a little bit of lethargy on behalf. You can't do that. Of course, you got to expect they're going to come up. No, but they're off. You know what they're like.
A World Cup.
You know that World Cup. You know what they're like. Generally, they can kind of coming off the back of the Dutch game as well. Maybe, you know, as well as that fact a little bit, and they're not quite at it in terms of their mentality, not quite mentality monsters on the night. We got to take advantage. I think we can. Okay, well, that's an optimistic note to finish on. If Ireland get a result, even you have to turn around to me and acknowledge my presence. That's the kind of occasion this will be. Our football show coverage brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport, and Premier Sports. Kenny Cunningham, thank you very much. Nice one, Joe.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.